This is the Spiritual Bible. My name is Lisette, and in this podcast I look to the Bible through a spiritual lens, or I look to spirituality through a biblical lens. And today I want to talk about the now, living in the present moment. In spirituality, it is the ultimate goal to live in the exact moment. Because if you live in the present moment, there is not a past, there's nothing to regret. And there's also not a future or things that you can be anxious about. But our minds, they love to bring us to the past or the future, and that is where our worries start. We relive our traumas and we just get caught up with a lot of thinking that's actually not really helping us most of the time. In the Bible, there is a story where religious teachers ask Jesus when the kingdom of God will come. And they want timelines, predictions, they want to know about future events. Just like how we sometimes are, for example, looking to astrology to figure out what is going to happen, if things are going to change or whatever. We want to know something. But Jesus, he answers with this. He says, the kingdom of God is not coming with signs to be observed. The kingdom of God is among you, within you. So basically he is saying, stop worrying about the future. Stop chasing things from tomorrow. But put your awareness into the now, into this moment. And then you even discover that God has been there the whole time. The kingdom of God is within you, as he says. And Jesus himself, he's not so much worried about the day of tomorrow. Because when Jesus teaches us how to pray, he says, give us today our daily bread. He doesn't say, give us next week's bread, just in case, as what we can do. But in this prayer, he's only focusing on what happens right now. And bread is, well, you can see it as literal bread, so we can feed ourselves, but bread can also be seen as a more spiritual thing, with bread that you feed yourself with spiritually. And if you look at it from a spiritual perspective, well, you cannot eat tomorrow. You can only eat today. You can only eat in this right moment. And in this prayer, it reminds us to live right here, one breath at a time. Not worry about if you have bread tomorrow or the day after tomorrow. Just focus on what's here right now. And even in the beginning of the Bible, Israel is in the wilderness. But God feeds them with manna. It is supernatural bread that comes out of heaven, if you take it literally. But God commands them to gather only what they need for today. And if they try to save it for tomorrow, the bread rots all the time. And that's an interesting lesson about being present. Jesus also says, do not worry about tomorrow. Each day has enough trouble of its own. And it's just pretty easy common sense. You don't know what is going to happen tomorrow. And all the worries we have is almost always future focused. Even though you don't even know what is going to happen, we worry a lot about it. So if you stop thinking about the future, it will bring you into the present, and it will give you peace and awareness, and you can just enjoy what is right here, right now, in front of your face. We can take children as an example, because they don't worry that much as we do as adults about the future. And Jesus also speaks about children, because there's a story, and then the disciples ask Jesus, who is greatest in the kingdom? And Jesus calls a child over and he says, unless you change and become like little children, you will never enter the kingdom. That's pretty intense. But why is he using a child as an example? Well, probably because a child lives in the now, in the moment. And they're just playing and having fun, and And this actually says that the door into the kingdom is the doorway back into presence. And there's a story in the Bible where Jesus confirms that again, because there are parents who bring their children to Jesus, and the disciples try to shoo them away, these children, because they are thinking about their schedules, plan, productivity, blah blah blah. But Jesus interrupts that, and he says, "Let the children come to me, for the kingdom belongs to such as these." And you can see what happens if you grow up in the story of Mary and Martha. And in this story, Jesus is in the home of the two women, they are sisters. And Martha is cooking, cleaning, she's preparing a lot and being busy, and her mind is everywhere. Then Mary, the other woman, sits at Jesus' feet, and she's just being present, and she's listening, and she's aware. She's in the moment. But the busy one, Martha, complains, and she says, "Jesus, don't you care? She's not helping." And then Jesus answers, "Martha, you are anxious and troubled about many things, but only one thing is necessary. Mary has chosen the better portion." I think it's a great example of how you can serve God, but still miss God. And we can be busy trying to reach some kind of states so much that we actually forget the whole point. In the book of Thomas, that's not in the Bible, but it has a lot of sayings from Jesus. Jesus speaks about that if your mind and your heart will make peace, you will reach heaven in yourself. In the Bible, he speaks about that as well, but only in other words. And he says, no one can serve two masters. And it means these masters, your soul is rooted in the now and your mind is trapped in tomorrow. And there's always a time conflict because you have to choose who is going to be your master. Is it tomorrow or is it the now? You must choose who is your master, because he says no one can serve two masters. Are you going to serve your fears of the day of tomorrow, or are you going to be present in the present moment? Because your brain cannot be anxious and fully present at the same time. And presence is not only a spiritual thing, it's also biological alignment. When you return to the now, a lot of things in your body happen and in your brain and your nervous system. And it will actually make you feel a lot better. In the book of Thomas, Jesus says, the kingdom of the Father is spread out upon the earth, and people do not see it. We're looking for it and chasing it, but it is just very close by. It's not because it's not somewhere you go, but it is something you wake up to. God does not live in your imagination of tomorrow. And God also doesn't live in your memory of yesterday. And God even says that his name is I am. And he doesn't say, my name is I was. Or my name is I will be. Maybe. He says I am. And that means that he is presence. Presence is where he speaks, where he lives. All these thoughts about living in the present moment, I know it's really hard, but it helps me. It reminds me. It prevents me to wait for the perfect moment to be alive, when everything around me is aligned and whatever. No, the kingdom is not pending or waiting something that happens in a few months, or if I did this or that. It is present. My peace, your peace, it's not later, it is here. Your awakening is not in the future. The only thing you can control is this moment. And this is where the magic happens. The miracle is never tomorrow. The miracle is always right here, right now.